Okay, guys, we're back over here at the bench. So, uh, this indicator holder is slowly turning into the $1 million indicator holder. So, um, I've milled off the back. I think I might have already shown that. We had a problem with how we were going to create a clamping screw for our bottom clamp plate here. Really don't want anything on the bottom. I'd rather have all the adjustments up on top here. So if I have the indicator holding screw on here, indicator in place, and then I put another screw for pulling up the locking plate, I think I'm going to have trouble with, trying to work them at the same time. So I drilled another hole to move the locking screw over here. Slight problem though. This nice thumb screw, I don't know what you call that, that I was going to use. This is a fine thread, and of course, being in a hurry, I ended up tapping it for regular 1/4 20. So I do have this style, and I mean that'll clean up, that I can use here. I got to shorten it up, obviously. So we got that happening. But the next move here is to get this clamping plate squared away. So, and I need it needs to be spaced a little bit. I'm not sure how good that's showing up there. I need it spaced out about that much. So my thought is to use these pointed set screws and just bring them up, one on each side here. Bring them up through as like a hinge, and that'll give me some adjustability as well. And then I'm also going to put I'll put this pin in the bottom here, if I can find the bottom. Here we go. Somewhere in this area, and I'll have it coming up through the plate with a slightly elongated hole, and that will keep the bottom plate from swinging to the side or rotating when you're tightening it up or loosening. So I got that thought. And then as far as the clamping goes, I'm still working on this, but I think what I've come up with is I've got this shoulder bolt, I guess you would call it, and it would make a nice thumb screw, but of course it's too big. I'm thinking about doing is cutting this maybe in half, and then this is soft material. I already checked it, so I can drill all the way through and thread it for 5/16, and then use it as a nut up on the top. And with the 5/16, I'm just going to cut part of this off. With the 5/16 bolt, I can use this as a drawbar. And I'll just bring it through. It's going to be offset to one side the way this block is made, which I think will be fine. And what I was planning on doing was putting in a cross pin and then just cutting off the excess. So this pin looks like it's the right proportions. It's a 4mm. I don't know where I got a 4mm pin, but it looks like it'll work. So I think that's the way I'm going to go. Just, I mean, this is design as you go, design on the fly, with many days in between steps. So, all right, I'm going to work on getting this ready, and I'll bring you guys in. And I mean, there's not much there. We're just going to drill a couple holes, tap them, and then put a little slot in there. So I may or may not film that. We'll see how things go here. Okay, guys, let's continue on. Okay, guys, so we got our bottom plate drilled, tapped. We got the slot in there for our pin. I saved you guys the pain of having to watch that whole process. Not rocket science, just took a few minutes to do it. So we've got our set screws. These have a 90-degree included angle point on them. So they're gonna go in here like this. I put a little chamfer so we can run these down a little deeper if necessary. So these guys are gonna work like a little hinge. And we've got our pin in the block there. That hole's a 1/2 inch deep. We got a couple little dimples we made with a chamfering tool. They're also at the 90-degree included angle. So there you have it right there. Okay, so that's going to be our little hinge. Happy the way that came out. So the next operation is going to be designing a drawbar to draw this up. And I think I'm going to start by making the nut. That way we can place it right where we want it. So I'm going to see if I can get this in the lathe and center drill it. Actually drill all the way through, drill it, tap it, get that done while we have something to hold on to here. And then we'll cut this off to whatever length we determine we want. So, all right, so let's go set that up. Helps if you bring your part over. All right, so let's see what we can do here. See how that runs here. I think that'll be okay. Okay, so we're going with a, this is an F size drill. That's the correct size for 5/16 course. Hopefully it doesn't mean we get an F grade on the project. gonna hand tap this thing here. So I killed power on the lathe, and we're gonna put it in back gear just to lock the chuck here. Okay. We've got a 5/16 gun tap, and okay, you guys may send me some hate mail here, but so I just picked up this Starrett 91 tap handle from Dom, or at least Dom was the original owner. $5 at the flea market. Like Keith Rucker was saying, I couldn't get my wallet out fast enough. All right, a little oil on this. Oh, have to move you guys back here a little bit. I've got this, I just cut it off with a hacksaw, and there's our final mark right there. Might leave it a hair long just to be on the safe side. It's not a critical dimension. So let's see how we can hold this thing here. All right, let's see how that runs. We leave it just like that. It looks pretty good. Okay, let's head back to the bench and finish our layout. Our thumb screw or thumb nut, I guess it would be now that it has a drilled and tapped. So on a side note, I'm sure most of you guys have seen Mr. Pete's latest video where he builds the struck vise. And at the end, he shows a aluminum version of that vise. Well, I was cleaning up at the small drill press, and I've got the same vise. So this is the one I let my grandson use. I've got the palm grin and and a Yankee, you know, that he's not allowed to use. But this is just, a low-cost aluminum, and it's exactly the same as the one Mr. Pete has. I thought that was interesting. I didn't even know it until today when I was cleaning up. He uses it on his Hot Wheels cars. He'll lay a car in there and he drills the rivets out so he can disassemble them and switch bodies, paint them, do whatever he does. Yeah, so anyways, I thought that'd be kind of cool to share with you. Okay, so I did a little bit of layout off camera. So one of the things that I want to be careful of is that this bolt's going to go through, that we don't get too close, to our slot here. I want to leave a little bit of meat. I want to get it as close as I can. Remember, our hinge point is back here, so I want the bolt to be as far forward as possible to give more leverage, more clamping force. So I just kind of eyeballed it and came up with that, and then I scribed a center line. I don't know if that's showing up or not. So that's our center line of where we want to drill our hole. And then the next determining factor is going to be clearance for the indicator dial. And I know it would look best to have this centered in the narrow part of the block here for aesthetic purposes, but for clamping and trying to get, trying to keep the forces somewhat even, I actually want to be closer to the center of the entire width of the block. And I wanted to make sure that I had room to adjust the dial here, and that doesn't seem to be a problem. Let's try the other one. This one's got a little fatter bezel, but there's still plenty of room to work both of them, so I think that'll be good. So the next decision is I don't want to be hanging over this edge. I want to be, and leave a little bit, leave it sit proud a little bit there. So I'm just going to eyeball it right there. And I think what I'll do is just drop a transfer punch through it and just use it like a scribe. Okay, let's see if that worked. Yep, there we go. Okay, let me clean up that scribe mark a little bit. Okay. We'll put a center punch. Okay. All right, so when this is assembled and our bolt is drawing up our bottom plate, there's going to be a little bit of back and forth travel as it goes through the arc. I don't know if it's even worth worrying about. Maybe what we'll do is when we drill the bottom plate is we'll go just maybe one size larger just to give it a little bit of clearance. And our pin, our cross pin that's going to be in there. My original thought was to mill out a little channel, and I think I still will, but I might, instead of making it a round or half round channel, I might just make it a flat channel. That way this pin can roll back and forth a little bit as this plate goes through the arc. I know we're probably splitting hairs here, but Just trying to, do it the right way. Okay, well, first thing is to get this hole drilled. So let's go back over to the mill and we'll take care of that. Huh. So do it this way. Hope nobody was cringing too bad at me holding that by hand there. All right, let's clean this up and head back over to the bench. So here's our bolt. We've got a nice fit. I had to, I was worried that this was going to be a little sloppy. It was a little tight when I was miking this bolt shank. There's some tooling marks that were on here, probably from the manufacturing process. So there's some raised ridges. I think they draw these through some type of a collet when they put the head on and when they do the threading or roll the threads on. So anyways, I had to spend some time with the file, and stone, and a little emery cloth and get the shank cleaned up a little bit, but we got a good fit now. And then here's our nut. So I'm liking it. I think it's going to work out pretty good. So the next thing I got to do is put the hole in our clamping plate, and we'll do that with a transfer punch. Let's take this out. We're just going to elongate this hole a little bit so that we allow for the hinging action when we're tightening or loosening. Okay, I like it. Okay, next thing, we've got two more operations I want to do. We're going to put a little channel in here for the cross pin to sit in. And then I want to also put a little relief on the opposite side. So when we're clamping up, we keep the clamping pressure toward the toward the end of our block here. Okay, we're just using a calibrated eyeball here for our alignment. Not a critical dimension, we're just making a little relief cut here. Okay, so we're working on our mock-up here. We've got our bottom plate, we've got our relief groove there, we've got our pin groove on this side. So this is going to set on here. We've got our alignment pin. Make sure I turn that so you guys can see it. Okay, that goes on there. Okay, so our bolt is going to go through from the bottom, and I've already marked this where our cross hole needs to be. I took it over to the lathe and held everything together and got a pretty good estimation of where that pin's got to go. Okay, so here's what we're looking at. So we've got enough clearance, so we get our hinging action. Our threads, I'm going to leave it just slightly down, about that much. Somewhere in here should be our mark. There's our mark for our cross hole. So that's the next step, the dreaded cross hole drilling operation. Okay, we're going to do that over in the mill. So let's head back over there. So first thing I'm going to do is make a little flat. I got a 1/8 inch end mill in here, already lined up, ready to go. So let's make our little flat spot. Alright, I like that. Final assembly time. So here's our block, and I've Loctited the pin in with red Loctite. Did the same thing here on our cross pin. It's Loctited in there, so those have dried overnight, so good and solid. All right, so let's put it together. Here's our bottom plate. Okay. I'll probably end up putting some blue Loctite on these once I get the optimum setting, but for now we're just going dry with these. Going all the way down, back off about a half a turn or so. Okay. So this goes over the pin. like so. Okay. Drop our draw bolt through. There we go. Our thumb nut that we just made. I got a little stainless steel SAE washer here. Probably a good idea so we don't mar up our finish. Okay. And let's get our set screw started. So I actually, and I shorten these up by the way. I think the top location here is going to be fine. I was worried that they'd be too crowded having them this close together, but you know, I think that'll work out fine. I do have the other one. I got it cleaned up a little bit, shortened. I don't know. This must be stainless. I don't know what it's made out of, but man, it is hard stuff, whatever it is. Okay, so anyways, we have the option of having our thumb screw here on the back end instead of the top. And then we've got our hard stop, and it's just 1/4 20, so you know, depending on what you're doing, you can put in whatever size bolt you need. And I've got a brass nut on there for a lock adjustment. Okay. And let's try the large indicator. Goes in there like that. Tighten this guy down. Now I still need to make a little soft protector to go in there, either a little brass plug or a little piece of lead or something. So I'm just going to go gently for now. We don't want to mar up our indicator shaft. Although it doesn't take much to hold that. Okay, so there we go. One other change I might make. Yesterday I was experimenting with putting a spring. Let's see if we can get that in frame here. Never drop a spring. Okay, so anyways, with putting a spring in there, just to make it easier, you know, when you're removing or installing, just to keep the clamping plate held back. So I'll probably have to go to the hardware store. This spring was a little smaller and I heated it up a little bit, tried to expand it, and I'm just not happy with the way it's coming out. So we're gonna have to look for a spring, but I think we'll include that. All right, so there's what we got. And of course we can put the other 1-inch indicator in here. All right, well, let's head over to the lathe and see how it looks over there. Okay, here we go. All right, I like that. All right, let's see what happens when we bring the carriage up here. Looks good. All right, so not sure about this hard stop. Getting some deflection here. You'd have to either have to come in here and really wrench down on it. Okay, that's as tight as I can go, finger tight there. Let's see if that holds it. We're still getting some movement. Okay, so we're gonna have to experiment with that, with the hard stop, but the indicator part, that's working nicely. Let's see how it looks with the 2-inch indicator. Hopefully that didn't go out of frame there. Bring you back this way. Yeah, I like this one. You get a lot of travel. And then you can always extend this out a little bit too if you need to get in closer to the block. Let's see how far this goes before I ram it all the way in. Okay, so I think we should be good. If, oh, that made it all the way here. Let's run this out a little bit. There's our full 2-inch right there. Okay. So if nothing else, the stop block will serve, or the screw stop will serve as an indicator protector. So it was worth putting it in there, if that, for nothing else. Okay. One other thing is I'm definitely going to get a spring to put underneath, because you've got to kind of hold everything together here otherwise. And if you're not holding it, this pin, you know, can turn or jump out of the slot. But overall, I think it'll do the job. Okay, well, there you go, guys. Okay, so we were just informed by management that this project requires quality assurance inspection. So I brought the inspector over. All right. Okay, Lisa, check it out. How is it? Is that going to pass? Does that look okay? What do you think? Huh? Should we shake on it? Hey. Should we shake on it? Good girl. Okay, we may have stacked the deck slightly. Okay, good girl. Good girl. Oh, you want to do some more inspecting? All right, we've got to get the other inspector in here also. What do you think? Is that going to pass? What do you think? Is that going to pass? Huh? What do you think? Right there. Is that going to pass? Hmm? What do you think? Huh? Right there. You did. Get it, Sullivan, get it. How about a shake? There you go, good boy.